Okay, Lizzy, what is an intimacy coordinator?
So, an intimacy coordinator is someone who works with the actors and the crew and the production to ensure the safety and respect of the actor when they're working with simulated sex or nudity.
Let's talk about Bridgerton. First of all, thank you for all your good work in Bridgerton. Is it true you worked with the cast and especially Daphne and Simon? I call them by their stage names. 6 weeks before they actually started shooting?
Yes, we were really lucky in that we had so much rehearsal time. Shondaland were incredibly gracious with that. It's not always the case, but we were really lucky to have all of that rehearsal time in like pre-production. It was amazing.
Was the chemistry between Simon and Daphne immediate when you started working with them, or how did you get it to build?
So there was obviously like such a like a lovely like friendly connection between them when I first started, because I don't think they'd actually been doing a huge amount of work together before I got involved. Something that was really handy was that they were also working with the dance choreography Jack Murphy at the same time. And of course, like there's so much connection when you're working with any of the ball scenes. If you're doing any of those dances, you know, like you have to find that connection. And I know they had a lot of fun doing that. But yeah, it sort of built as we went on, really, especially when we had so much rehearsal time. You know, when you're doing those types of scenes, you get to know someone pretty well. And, you know, we had a lot of fun in those rehearsals and they were extensive.
Let's get specific. Is it true the first scene with Daphne and Simon, that scene in the library, was the first scene they ever had to shoot? Was that sexy scene? How did that go down?
So I don't think it was Regé-'s first scene, but it was certainly Phoebe's, but it was the first day of filming.
Gotcha.
So I think Regé had like a scene earlier on in the day, but this was the first scene that they were filming together. What was really exciting about it was that it was filmed in the Reform Club in London, and they had only in the last 30 years, I think 1981, allowed women to come into the club because it is a gentleman's club. And so it felt really cheeky to be doing that scene in the library of a gentleman's club that had only just allowed women in. So it was kind of fun, you know, that scene of female sexual pleasure. It felt really cheeky.
I like cheeky, Lizzy.
Yeah, it was cheeky.
Episode 6. Tell me what behind that scene when Daphne takes advantage of Simon. That had to be shot really well.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. As an intimacy coordinator, you know, like my role isn't in the narrative of the story. That's up to the writer's room. But one of the things that we were really focused on in that scene is making sure that they were both comfortable with all the choreographic action that was going on. So we had, you know, a lot of meetings sitting down about, okay, so what are we willing to show? What are we not willing to show? Like what are our consents? What's the boundaries that we're going to play with here, and make sure that we never cross them. Because one of the things that I'm really conscious of is that I never want an actor to find out in the moment what their boundaries are, because the chances are they've already been crossed at that point.
Maybe your finest work. Let's discuss the honeymoon montage, the wildest dreams. Tell me everything.
Well, I didn't know what the music was going to be until I watched it for the first time on a screener. And I have to say, when I heard the music, I was like, no. They haven't. Oh, they have. It was just so exciting because I had, like I said, no idea that was what it was going to be put to. And I messaged Chris, who's the who arranged the music afterwards, and I was like, oh my goodness, thank you so much for your work. I had no idea, and it was very cool just watching that. And I have to say, like all of those scenes were shot like over about a month in Yorkshire. And of course, you know, like the weather is not reliable in the UK. A lot of them were filmed at night, and you would think, oh, it's August, you know, it's summer, maybe it'll be nice and warm, but it's not. And so kudos to the costume and you know, hair and makeup. They were so great in making sure that, you know, like everyone was warm, everyone was looked after. But yeah, it was so dense. They were so packed. You know, we were outside by a lake. We were, you know, up a ladder. We were like in like a gazebo. Where else were we? We were up against statues. We were in Regency style beds. We were all over the place. And I keep saying I've got a friend who's working at Castle Howard. I was like, you need to do an intimacy tour of Castle Howard.
Right?
Like, yeah, so many people will sign up.
What about the stone floors? I'm thinking those must be cold.
Yeah, so what you can't see is that actually, like, there was some padding down. There were a lot of blankets that were there. So we made sure that like no one was lying on cold stone hard floors, because that would be so uncomfortable. So yeah, that like everyone worked together to make sure that, you know, people were feeling like more comfortable and safe. But, yeah.
Phoebe, who plays Daphne, said that these scenes were really like shooting a stunt. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I think because many people experience intimacy in their everyday lives, the concept of being able to portray it for an audience doesn't seem to be like that far removed, but actually it is, because it's now performative. We're now sort of displaying it as opposed to just sort of doing it in our personal lives. And there's a lot to think about when you're doing those scenes, like a lot to think about, you know, character intention, like body mechanics, breath work. There is so much that goes into it. And, you know, like if you're doing scenes of sustained intimacy for a long time, like they are exhausting, they're hard work. Like, you know, it's the same as sort of, you know, running for a long time. You're using sort of every muscle in your body to do all of these like intimate simulated sex scenes, and it can be really tiring. And so I think it's really great that the concept of intimacy coordination being like equated to stunt work, I think that's really helpful, because it reframes these scenes in the minds of, like, you know, directors, producers, and actors as well, because they know that it's not just like, oh, we'll just do a quick sex scene. It's like, no, if you're going to do it properly, it takes a while.
That's a good workout. I'd like to get into that workout class, Lizzy. Sign me up right there. How do you fool? Let me do it again. How do you fool the viewers? Because in my mind, I know what I was watching, Lizzy, and that was some good stuff. That was real. So how do you fool us?
Okay, I can assure you it wasn't. Sorry to break the dream. Yeah, you know, we study a lot of like movement work and techniques to make sure that, like, you know, nothing is actually happening, and that there's some good distance between any groin action when you're doing these scenes. Like, we work with barriers, we work with intimacy garments that are all padded up. You're actually quite far away from someone else's genitals when you're doing this work. I know it doesn't look like that, but yeah, you absolutely are. And again, it's about like body displacement as well, making sure that, you know, it's tricks of the eye, making sure that it looks like it's, you know, directly one-on-one, but it is actually not.
How do you feel about the final product? What grade would you give it?
Oh my gosh. I was so blown away when I saw them. I remember just like watching them, and just parts of it, like my mouth would drop open, because I'd read the books, and I knew what to expect from the books, and obviously I read the scripts, and they're different. And I think Julia Quinn's very open about it. She's like, you know, one's not better than the other; they are different. And when you read them, you're like, how can they possibly put this like lavish, rich world on screen? And they just did. And, you know, it is down to, you know, hair and makeup was astounding, you know, costume was incredible, the sets were amazing, the dance work with Jack was outstanding, and just like, you know, the
love scenes were perfection. I'm serious. You did so great. What grade would you give yourself? I say A++.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I don't know about grading my work yet, because I mean, I know that I look at it and I'm like, oh yeah, no, I need to do this, and I need to think about this next time, and, you know, I need to be like focused in on like, oh, you know, whenever you critique your own work, it's never like, that was perfect. It's like, oh no, I want to nail that next time. I want to make sure I'm, you know, getting that correct, and all that sort of stuff.
Do you love your job? Do you feel so fortunate to be doing this?
Yeah, I think it's certainly got its challenges. You know, you're your own head of department at this point, and so that's why it's nice to sort of make friends on set with, you know, like the choreographer, the historian, well, amazing historian on the show, Hannah Gregg. She was just fabulous and full of information. If you ever get the chance, she's amazing to talk to. And the vocal coach. And so it's really nice having like this team that you're sort of like collaborating with when you're on set every day. And yeah, it was just so, the support that Shondaland gave this role was incredible. It was a very new role. They hadn't done it before. Like they hadn't worked, no one I think on the show had worked with an intimacy coordinator before. So it was a big risk for them taking on this role because they didn't know how it was going to go. So it was really amazing that they gave this role the opportunity to do what it did and to use it and to be so involved with it, like Julianne Robinson, it was her first time, and I know that she was pretty hesitant about working with an intimacy coordinator. And we met and we clicked straight away, and we had just such a great time collaborating on all of these scenes.